How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Play Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, an encoder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And as always, if you guys don't want access to a private repository, there's a link in the description down below that'll walk you through exactly how to get access to that. Also, again, sorry about the background. We're actually finally going to get it cleaned up here in the next week or so because we have family coming over. We've just been getting so much extra stuff we don't have when we put. It's just kind of going back there. I'm trying to redo the closet, but that's beyond the scope of this video. Just know I'm going to try to work on the background soon. I really want to get a pull-up green screen just to go ahead and hide it, but we'll see where that goes. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about what we're working on today. Today, we're going to go ahead and continue working on our messages. Specifically, we're going to go ahead and work on this pop-up bar. We're going to go ahead and get it so that one, this guy doesn't do this anymore. We're going to go ahead and start getting some of the messages showing up here. We're not going to be able to click on the messages yet. That's going to be in a future episode, but we want to at least go ahead and list all of our conversations. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the code and get to work. So today we're going to go ahead and start out here in our messages popup.css because we need to go ahead and remove some padding from our messages popup content down here because we're going to go ahead and put the padding inside of the component that we create today, and it kind of messed some things up. And then we also want to go ahead and change some stuff inside of the popup bar itself. That way we can get rid of that scroll bar that's side to side. So let's go ahead and go into our messages bar component. So here inside of our messages bar, where our CSS is, we have our class name that says messages bar and then state unread or space. We're going to add another space here and we're going to say $ curly brace, and we're going to say message state dot popup open question mark. So we're going to go ahead and see if it's open or not. And we probably could have done something a little bit different, but it is what it is. And this is going to be messages bar dash open. Otherwise, it's going to go ahead and be messages dash bar dash closed. So this will go ahead and fix up any issue there. And then let's go ahead and bring this on click down just to make it look a little bit prettier. There we go. So now let's go ahead and go into the messages bar CSS and fix this. So now what we'll go and do is, I think I'll just go ahead and put this right here. That's probably fine. We'll have dot messages dash bar dash open, and here we'll have a width of 381 px, and then we'll have our dot messages dash bar dash closed, which will have a width of 400 px. So basically when it's open, we subtract more or less 19 to go ahead and compensate for that scroll bar up and down. We'll go ahead and delete the height out of that and save. Let's just make sure this is working properly before we move on to the message conversation component that we're going to work on primarily. Now you can see there's no sideways scroll bar. We close it, it gets a little bit bigger. We open it, it gets a little bit smaller. Everything's fine. You can also see that the padding is gone here because we're going to go ahead and add this padding, which each message overview component that we set up next. So let's hop back into the code and get to work here. So next we're going to go ahead and start creating what we call a message conversation card. So let's go into our Explorer. Let's go ahead and go into components, and this is going to be called message. And I think I added an extra S on accident. There we go. Message conversation card slash message conversation card.tsx. Let's go ahead and create the message conversation card.css like so. Let's go into the component here. Let's import React from React, and we're going to need a couple other things, but we'll import them as we go. And there's a couple icons that I want to grab, so go ahead and import a circle icon from and this is at MUI icons material slash circle. We want to also import our more horizontal icon from the same thing. So at MUI material icon, and then more HORIZ. And then we also want to go ahead and import this one. I imported a little bit differently. This one's going to be verified from material icons. And then there's one more, which is the messaging util thing, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that out. We'll go and import our message. We want to go ahead and say // message conversation card.css, and we can go ahead and say export const message conversation card is a react.function component, and this will take in a conversation of type conversation. So bring that in, and that's going to be it for this. So pretty simple for our props here. We'll go ahead and break apart our conversation and then go ahead and do this. So let's just go ahead and return really quick to make it happy. We're going to go ahead and return a div, with a class name equal to message-conversation-card. And inside here, we're going to have a couple of things here. So we'll set these up in a second, but here we'll have an on click equal to, and this is going to be handle conversation clicked. And then we'll have a on mouse over equal to, and then here we'll set up some code in a second. And I don't know why it did that. I don't know what you're doing, bud, but okay. And we'll also have an on mouse leave. Oh, you know what? I don't know what's going on with this. It's because we need to wrap this in curly braces. I believe I messed up. Let's fix this. There we go. On mouse leave equal to, and then set up just a function for now. So that's going to be that. Let's go ahead and just create this handle conversation clicked really quick to make this happy. So const handle conversation clicked. And we're going to have to set up some code for this. So we're not quite ready to do this part yet. So we'll come back to that. And now do we want to go ahead and continue on the state and stuff? Or do we want to work on the skeleton? Let's see here. Let's go ahead and set up the state because the state is going to be pretty important in the skeleton. So here we're going to go ahead and say const logged in is equal to use selector. And then we'll have our state, root state. And here we're going to return state.user.logged in. We're also going to go ahead and have our const dispatch, which will be an app, dispatch. And here, this will equal to use dispatch. And then we're going to have a couple of states. We're going to say const, and this is going to be filtered conversation users. And let's go ahead and actually wrap this inside of square brackets because it's going to be a state, and set filtered conversation users. So we're going to go ahead and filter out ourselves from this. Basically is the idea. It's going to be a use state. Let's go ahead and import that. This will be a user array. We need to go ahead and import user interface. There we go. And this will go ahead and start as an empty array, and we'll fetch that whenever we load the component. We'll have our options icon, and then set options icon equal to use state of a boolean, and then this will start out as false. We'll have our const options color, and set options color equal to use state. This one will be a string, and here the string will start out as pound 657786, like so. And that should basically be our state. Now we do need a use effect, so go ahead and bring in our use effect and set up our function. So this one, we're just going to go ahead and watch for logged in. Again, at this point, whenever someone's opening up the messages, they should be logged in already, but just in case, so we'll go ahead and check for logged in, and then we'll say set filter conversation users. We'll go ahead and set up an arrow function, and in here we'll return our conversation users, and then filter. We'll filter out u where u.user ID is not equal to the logged in.user ID. So we'll go ahead and just filter out all the users that aren't us or the person that's logged in from the conversation users, and that's what we're going to use to kind of generate all the profile pictures and conversation names, all of that stuff. So now whenever we mouse over, we need to actually set, couldn't get rid of that. We need to go ahead and say set options icon, and this is going to be to true. So whenever we hover over, we'll see an options icon, and whenever we unhover, we'll set options icon to false. So whenever we hover over, the options icon will show up. Whenever we leave the hovering, it'll go away. So there we go. That's kind of like all of our state and stuff, other than this handle conversation clicked, which we're going to go ahead and set up after we do some state, or not some state, some slice stuff. Let's go ahead and just work on the component. So next I have a div with the class name equal to, and this will be message dash card, and this is actually message conversation dash card dash information dash bar. I don't know why I made these so long. It is what it is. Div class name equal to, and we're going to go ahead and say filtered conversation users dot length is less than 2 question mark. If that's the case, then we're going to go ahead and have message dash conversation dash card dash name and message dash conversation dash card dash nickname, because I don't want to reuse a bunch of stuff. And I probably could have done this slightly different. So what I probably could have done instead of this is, let's go ahead and add backticks here. I'm refactoring on the fly. So backticks, add backticks over here as well. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to clean this up a little bit. We're going to go and grab this message conversation card. This is used in 2 places. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that here. And then we're going to have $ curly brace, and we're going to wrap this here like so. And then we're going to say otherwise, and yeah, we probably do want a space there. Otherwise, we'll say space and then message dash conversation dash, and this would be card group name. Is because I have a whole bunch of different styles and sizes and stuff. And let's see what's wrong with this div. Did I just like mess up spacing, or what's going on here? I don't think I ever closed the div. So let's go ahead and close this div, and hopefully this works. It should work because both of these have the conversation card name on them, just some of them are a little bit different. So now inside of this, we're going to go ahead and say generate, and it's going to be conversation name. Inside we'll have our filtered conversation users. We'll have conversation.conversation name. If it exists, we'll use it, otherwise we'll generate it through that. So that's good to go. And then now outside of this conversation name card, assuming I spelled everything properly, what we're going to go and do, we'll have curly braces. We're going to say filtered conversation users dot length is equal to 1. And whoops, I don't know why I cannot type equal to 1. And we'll say filtered, filtered conversation users 0 dot, we're going to check to see if it's a verified account, and then we're going to say and then here we're going to go ahead and have our verified icon, and then this is going to be sx equal to, and then we'll say width is equal to 15 px. We'll have our height is equal to 15 px, and we'll have color, color is equal to pound, and then 1D, A1, and then F2. Go ahead and close this. So if we're verified, we'll go ahead and do that. I don't know why this is mad. I might have put it outside of the wrong thing. Let's go and actually put this inside the information bar. Like that. There we go. Cool. And then stay inside the information bar below our filtered content. We're going to go ahead and have logged in. So this is pretty messy, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And then conversation users dot filter. And I don't know why we're doing it this way. I don't know why I don't have filtered conversation users. I should probably use filtered conversation users here. I think I might have just forgotten about this. So filtered conversation users, and then dot length is equal to 1. And then we're going to have a div with the class name equal to message dash conversation dash card dash text, and message dash conversation dash card dash nickname. Actually, this one's username. So username, and then inside this div, we're going to have at, and then we're going to go ahead and say conversation dash conversation. Again, I don't know why I have it like this. This should just be filtered conversation users of 0 dot username, basically, because we already filtered them out. So I don't know why I had it set up the way I did, but anyway, we'll say circle, and then circle sx equal to, I don't know why I use font size on some of these and other ones I don't. I think it's just because where I copied them from. Anyway, font size will be 3, and color will be pound 6 5, and then 7786. Go ahead and close that off. And then underneath this, we'll have a P, the class name equal to message dash conversation dash card dash text once again. And this is going to just say sept 12 or 20 or whatever. It doesn't really matter what it says, because realistically what this is this has to be set up after messaging. So to do after we finish messages. So basically on the back end, whenever we start sending messages back and forth, that's going to be the last message. And let's see what's wrong with circle. This might be circle icon, like so. There we go. And then underneath this p tag, and I might have also screwed something up here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm missing a div right here. Let me go ahead and put a div in, and let me go ahead and wrap the conversation bar in a div, because we need to wrap this. There we go. Let's go ahead and format that. So now outside the information bar, we're going to have our div class name equal to message dash conversation dash card dash text and message dash conversation dash card dash content. And then this is going to be to do after completing messages. So this is going to be like the last message basically. And finally, like outside of our information area, we're going to go ahead and have our options icon. And then if we do have options icon as true, we're going to go ahead and say div the class name equal to message conversation card options wrapper. And this is going to be a little bit ugly, but below this, we're going to go ahead and put some other stuff. So here we go. So here we'll have an on mouse over equal to, and then we're going to go ahead and basically set our options color. And if we're hovering over it, we're just going to go ahead and be pound 1D A1 and then F2. And then whenever on mouse leave occurs, we're going to go ahead and set it back to the color it was before. So we're going to go ahead and say set options color. And this is going to be pound 6657786, like so. And then inside we'll have our more horizontal icon SX equal to, and I went with a font size of about 20 px here. Actually, since we've wrapped like that, 20 px. And then our color is going to be pound or backticks $, curly brace, and then options color, like so. So this is a pretty complicated component. And again, I don't know why the div is complaining. It's closed. This is closed. Let me look into it for a second here. Now options color, is it spelled wrong? No, it's not happy about options color. So let me double check options color here. Yep, I put an extra P inside options color. There we go. Save that. And we should be good to go. Now, this was a pretty complicated component with a lot of logic, conditional logic inside of it. So there's a very good chance that I screwed something up. Let's just go ahead and throw this into the messages pop-up and see what happens. And then we can fix it as we go. So let's go into messages pop-up. Inside of messages pop-up, it's going to go inside of basically the message overview component because the conversation won't be open yet. And all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and put it inside of these fragments. We might change this later. I'm not sure, but let's go ahead and do curly braces. We're going to say message, state dot conversations, and then dot map. We're going to map through each conversation, and we'll go ahead and do one of these. We'll go ahead and return a message conversation card. And I just realized we never actually used a conversation picture, I don't think, so we definitely missed something. But I'll come back to that. Conversation is equal to conversation. And let me just go ahead and double check our code here because we should have had a conversation picture and I think that I missed it, or maybe I didn't miss it. I'm not sure. But let's go back into our conversation picture and just make sure I didn't miss that. So in our message conversation card, we definitely missed it. So this should be just above here, I believe. And I might have done this a little bit backwards. So I think that this is actually supposed to be, let me see here, because we have our information bar. So we have here message conversation picture, and our users is equal to, and again, I'm trying to think about how we want to do this. I think this one we do want to do this conversation users length is greater than 2. If that's the case, we're going to say conversation users, because we want to include yourself in this. So we'll go ahead and say conversation users. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and say filtered conversation users. So that makes sense. And then below that, we need our conversation users or conversation picture. So conversation picture equal to, and this is gonna be conversation picture if it even exists. Okay, so there's our conversation pictures I forgot. And then below that conversation picture, we do have a div, and then below that we have our information card. So I think actually this is the right order. I just missed that conversation picture. So now what we can go and do is it's going to look very, very awful, but we can at least hop into the front end, see what it looks like, and then we'll be able to start out with or do the conversation clicked inside of our slice and then style it and be done. So let's go ahead and just do what it looks like really quick. It's not going to look very good. So you can see we have Jerry Smith. Whenever you hovered over it, this pops up. Whenever you hover that pops up. We have one with Rick Sanchez, Morty, Rick and Mort Dog, and 2 others. So there we go. That's looking pretty good. And the reason why I want to add in all of us is because your profile picture does actually exist inside of the conversation picture if you don't have one set. So that being said, let's go and hop into the message slice and get to work on some logic to be able to actually open up one of these guys. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to basically go into the conversation, but there's not going to be any logic or anything inside of it, obviously. And then we'll go ahead and style these and we'll be done for the day. So let's hop back into our code. So inside of our message slice, we need to go ahead and set up a select conversation. This is just going to be a regular old slice, and it's just going to go ahead and more or less grab a conversation that we already have open. I'm just going to go ahead and actually put this at the bottom. I don't know that it matters. So here, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. We're going to go ahead and say select conversation of our state action, and the action will be a payload action of type conversation. So we're just going to go ahead and select the conversation we already have in state, basically. So state is equal to ... state, and then our conversation open will be set to true, and we'll have our conversation will be set to action.payload. And then we can go ahead and return our state. So then we don't have to make an API call for a conversation we already have inside that list. It just makes sense. Let's go and put this inside of our actions. So we'll go ahead and come down here and we'll go ahead and say select, whoops, conversation, like so. I don't know why it always tries to do that. And then let's go ahead and go back into our message conversation card and actually dispatch this. So now whenever we have our handle conversation clicked, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll say dispatch and then select conversation, and then we'll just pass in the conversation that we got passed. Cool. And then whenever we click on this next episode or some other episode, I'm not sure how the episodes are going to break down. We'll go ahead and make it so that we open it up, we see messages, all that good stuff. We need to design what the message looks like. We need to design the text bar. Really, we need to get the text bar done first, because otherwise we can't input any information to send a message. So that's probably how it's going to break down. We'll probably open it up. There is like a little information box that pops up first. So that might be first thing we do. And then we need to go ahead and also go through and make it so we can actually type and make messages. But with that being said, let's go ahead and just style this guy up, get everything done, and then we can see what it looks like and move on to next episode. So let's go into the message conversation card CSS. First up, we have our message, that's conversation dash card. Here, we'll just go ahead and put the width at 100% of the space we have. We'll have our padding 16px. This is why we took it off the other one. We'll say display will be flex. We're going to have justify content space between. I'm going to go ahead and have align items to the flex start. And finally, we'll have a small gap of 8px. So if for whatever reason we don't have that much space to go ahead and go between, we'll have at least 8 pixels. Of our message dash conversation. I spelled something wrong here. I spelled conversation wrong up here, so I'm going to be scratching my head. Let's go and fix that. There we go. Message and then conversation dash card colon hover. Inside the hover, you know the deal. Cursor with pointer, and then our background. Background color will be RGBA 0 0 0, and then we're going to go ahead and go 0.1 on this one. We'll have our dot message dash conversation dash card dash and then user. I don't know if we ever use this, but we have, I don't remember setting this up. Maybe we did. Display flex, justify content flex dash start. Maybe we did set this up and don't remember. Gap will be 8px. I might go back and make sure that that's set up properly. Message conversation dash card dash information bar. I have a feeling we're going to have some CSS and structure issues because I just am not reading very well today. Display flex, justify content, flex start, align items in the center. We'll have a gap of 4px. Next we'll have the name. So this is where things get a little bit weird. Message conversation card dash name. So they kind of like have a no overflow, no wrap, and they just cut off names. So that's why we have some weird CSS going on. So margin 0, padding 0. We'll have white space will be no wrap. We'll have display inline. I'm a little bit concerned about that white space no wrap not showing up, but maybe it's fine. Width will be fit dash content if it isn't overflowing. Overflow will be hidden. We'll have a font dash size 15px, a font dash weight of 800, and then we'll have dot message dash conversation dash card dash nickname. Maybe. So here we'll say max dash width will be 25% of the container. So once we hit 25%, it will no longer be fit content, and then we'll start kind of hiding the rest of the content. We'll have a dot message dash conversation dash card and then dash group dash name. So this one will be slightly bigger. This will be max dash width of 75px because we don't have like the at to deal with basically, so we have more space to use. And then finally we'll have a dot message dash conversation dash card dash text. Here we'll have margin of 0, maybe. We'll have padding of 0. We're gonna have font dash size of 15px. We'll have a font dash weight of 400 and a color of pound, and then this one is 657786. Dot message dash conversation dash card user name. So we have quite a bit of stuff here. Width will be fit dash content. We'll have max dash width of 33%. We'll have white dash space white space no wrap. Then we'll have display of inline, and then overflow of hidden. Next is a message dash conversation dash card dash content. Here width will just fit dash content. We're gonna go ahead and have max dash width of 100%. This one will be white space no wrap again. So right space no wrap. We'll have display inline, and finally overflow of hidden. Almost done here. We still have like 2 more things left, and then we have our dot message dash conversation dash maybe card dash options dash wrapper. And this is assuming I haven't broken anything. I am assuming I have. Margin top will be -8px because it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Height will be 32px. Width will be 32px. We're going to go ahead and have a display flex, justify content in the center, align items in the center, and then we're going to have a border of none, and then we'll also have a border dash radius of 100%, and then we'll have our dot message dash conversation dash card options dash wrapper on hover, and then in here we'll have a cursor pointer, and we'll have a background dash color bar GBA, and this one is 29-161-242 and then 0.2. So I'm thinking there's a good chance that either the structure or CSS will be broken in this because I don't even remember setting up this user one, the conversation card user, which is kind of concerning. So let's just see what it looks like, and then I'll debug and fix it and kind of wrap up with you guys. So let's go and hop in the front end and just see what it looks like. So let's give it a refresh so the CSS loads. So now let's pray when we open it, it looks okay. So yep, so obviously there's something not quite right here with the spacing, so we need to look into that. But actually this text and stuff is actually not looking too bad. We just need to figure out what's going on with the spacing. We can kind of see whenever we hover over it, you can see this hover is not quite working right, so we need to see what's going on with that hover. Probably just spelled something wrong, but let's just see what's going on with the spacing here. I'm guessing we didn't get things quite put together, because I'm pretty sure, I think this guy is supposed to be with this group and something's just wrong. Let me just double check everything, see what's going on, and get this fixed. So option wrapper, I forgot the ER, so that'll go ahead and fix that. Let's hop into the TXS again. So I'm pretty sure that I goofed up somewhere in here. I'm gonna go and check the GitHub, because maybe I copied some stuff in wrong. So what I'm thinking what we were supposed to do is we're supposed to go and take this message conversation picture. Let's go and delete this, and we're supposed to put it inside this div here. Go ahead and style that, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have a class name equal to message-conversation card user right here, and save that, and let's just see if that does it. I'm thinking this is maybe what we were supposed to do here, although it looks like the div opens and closes just around this, so I'm not sure what's going on. But let's just double check this really quick, and then I can go ahead and do some more double checking to see what's going on with this. So that does look a little bit better, but not quite. So let's undo this really quick. So it looks like for whatever reason, this div needs to go. And let's go ahead and delete the div down here. That's going to break everything. And then it looks like we have another div right here. The class name equal to our message-conversation card user. And inside this div, we just have the message conversation picture, which is a little bit strange to me, with users equal to conversation users dot length greater than 2 question mark, and then we'll have our conversation users. Otherwise, it's filtered conversation users, and then the conversation picture equal to conversation conversation picture, and then we close this off. So I'm not really sure what this is doing. Let's just check to see if it does fix it. So it does look slightly better, but it's still not quite right. So something still isn't right here. I think I did have it right to begin with, so I do think this div doesn't actually end here. I think I might not have ended the div early enough maybe, so I think maybe the div ends here. Go ahead and style that, and let's just see what this looks like. So it looks a little bit better, but still not quite right, because this stuff should be stacked. So I messed up CSS elsewhere. I think I'm missing one more div around the conversation card information bar. I don't even know if we have this conversation card information bar. Let's just double check that. So it looks like I am still missing a div around this guy. So let's go ahead and add a div around this. So this div ends here. I think I goofed up whenever I was setting up the content for this episode, and I didn't get everything quite the way that I needed it to. So let's just double check this again to see if it's looking better. There we go. So that's what we want to see. So I made a small goof whenever I was copying some code over for this episode. So there we go. If we click on it, it's going to go ahead and take us to this. Now we need to go ahead and have a way to close out of this message or leave the message. It's also going to go ahead and change like the name up here that we need to work on. So there's a lot of work here. Obviously we need to go ahead and actually display the content of the messages and whatnot, but that's going to be way too much for this episode obviously, so that's why I didn't do it in this episode. But anyway guys, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. If you guys do want to see where we started from absolute scratch to get to the point we are now, there's a playlist either down below or linked in my channel that'll go ahead and do that. With that being said, y'all, hope you have a great day. This has been Ethan on Coder. Have a great one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.